Hi there. Welcome. I know it's been a while. I never know what to say in these videos, but I remembered that I was going to talk about the ego and the ally. Well, I don't think I'm going to get into the ally too much. I'm just going to talk about the ego. Okay? Kind of a interesting conversation. I think I'm going to really make you think in the end. Yeah, because like I said, I went through a spiritual awakening and I came to understand something really, really huge about God. Like, I truly believe that God is alive and God is real, and science can prove it. However, science just has to change its perspective just a little bit and to nudge it into the right direction in order to be able to prove it. But anyway, let's talk. And I was gonna, I'm so excited about getting that message out, but I still don't know how to really say it. So maybe I'll talk a little teeny tiny bit about it in this video. It'll be fun how I tied it in. Okay, let's talk about the ego. Now, when I was researching about the ego, first of all, I didn't even know I was in my ego so much of my life. And you're going to be shocked and surprised that you could be just like me, could have been just like me. Because the first thing that I found out about the ego is that it's our personal identity. It's who we think we are and who we want others to think who we are. Our personal identity. I always thought that the ego was, a conceited, boisterous sound that thinks it's superior than others and all this and all that. And then through my spiritual awakening, I also understood that there's a hidden ego. There's a timid ego within the victim mentality. Because in my spiritual awakening, I found out that a person could be self-absorbed if they're taking everything personally, if they're thinking everyone is talking about them. Like, when I was a little girl, I was very shy. And one day someone told me that, that's your ego. I'm like, what? Being shy is my ego? And she's like, yeah, because you think everybody's thinking about you. Everyone isn't thinking about you. Everybody's thinking about themselves. And through my spiritual awakening, I found out that was very true. Everyone is thinking about themselves. So that's why this understanding that I have, it's going to be very interesting, because I'm going to be talking to your nature of how, we are. We are kind of naturally always have to think of ourselves because, we're living our lives. We have to think of ourselves. So how do we balance this out? The ally will help you balance it out. But anyway, let me keep on going with the ego. Now, it says for the ego, it's your identity, how you see yourself, and how you want others to see you. And it says, think of the last time someone, oh, I'm sorry that I have the glasses on, but think of the last time someone criticized you and you felt defensive. That was your ego protecting itself. That wasn't you. See, the ego has tricks. And the tricks of the ego are, the ego makes you take things personally. The ego thrives on comparison and validation. That's another thing. I was in my ego in my relationships because I thought that I needed the man to validate who I was. Because I was always, I looked kind of good. I talked pretty good. I looked pretty intelligent. I was good, well-behaved, well-mannered. I should have a man. And so if I didn't have a man, then I thought that people would think, there must be something wrong with her. What's wrong with her? How come she doesn't have a man? So I thought I needed a man so that other people wouldn't think there was something wrong with me. Yeah. That was me being in my ego. Can you believe that? And I thought I was not connecting it to my ego at all, because I was connecting it as you know, having a criticism about myself that I wasn't good enough. So I needed the man to make me, you know, appear good enough. So there's an ego that doesn't think it's good enough? Maybe even the boisterous one. Maybe it's the same thing. The ego must be insecurity. Anyway, there I go thinking about the old ego. But no, the new ego, it's about personal identity. That is so deep for me. So it thrives on comparison and validation. It also creates unnecessary suffering by attaching to external things like status, opinions, and appearances, even people. And that's another thing, how it says it attaches to things, because that was another thing I used to always do. I used to always attach myself to people and situations. I didn't like change. I always wanted everything to stay the same. I thought that was being loyal. I thought that was being good. I thought that was what, you know, a child of God would do. But no. Becoming attached, when I came into my spiritual awakening, I realized that unconditional love is not attachment. It's detached. It allows people to have the freedom to be who they are. So I was like, I have this thing about attachment. Now I know why. It's part of the ego. But the good news is that you can overcome the ego's control over you. And that is by gaining a awareness of it. Like, now that you know this is you're defending a personal identity of yourself. In other words, you're offending yourself to be a description of yourself. You're not a description of yourself. You are the living vibrational being of self. But at any rate, you gain awareness. You recognize when the ego is acting up, when you feel offended, superior, or desperate for approval. Again, superior or desperate for approval. And if you're feeling being personally attacked. Isn't that something? I think that's something, well, because now that I know how much I was in my ego, it's because it helps you to solve some problems. You know, because when you're in your ego, you tend to blame other people. But if you recognize that it's your ego and you start to ask yourself different questions and, you know, why am I feeling this way? Why, you know, you get into trying to figure out you and not your ego. You don't talk to your ego anymore. You talk to you. You can straighten things out. Things can work out really well. It's when your ego, when you have to be right all the time. That's another trait of the ego. Oh, and that's what it says. Let go, detach from needing to be right, look perfect, or prove yourself. Let go. Another big lesson in my spiritual awakening. Let go. Let God. Or let go. Let it flow. Let it grow. Let it go. Let it flow. Let it grow. Little thing I made up. And number 3 is you shift perspective. Instead of saying, I need to win, think, I need to grow. And remember when I told you in a couple of videos back about the consciousness? I think that was my first video, when I said ideas and thoughts are the only thing that you can exchange and multiply them by exchanging them, you know, one for one. Like if I had an idea and you had an idea and we exchanged it, then I'd have 2 ideas and you'd have 2 ideas. And if we exchange those ideas and get a 3rd idea, then I'll have 3 ideas and you'll have 3 ideas. But if we were to do that with physical things, like a dollar, if I had a dollar and you had a dollar and we exchanged those dollars, I would still have a dollar. I'd have your dollar, but I'd still have a dollar. And you'd still have a dollar. You'd have my dollar, but you'd still have a dollar. And if we exchanged them again, I would still have a dollar. You would still have a dollar. I would have my dollar back. You'd have your dollar back. You know, we could keep on exchanging. We'd only keep on ending up with a dollar. Whereas ideas, we can end up with an encyclopedia worth of ideas, and ideas manifests into creations, so hey, that's abundance. But yeah, what was I saying that for? I forgot my thought. See, I got so excited. It says shift your to grow, and that must be growth, that's growth. Okay, so anyway, I'm sorry, while I'm doing these videos, I don't know what I'm gonna say. I just say whatever is on my mind, and I learn from what I say. And so like I'm hearing what I'm saying and I'm getting tickled over it because it's nice to learn new things, things that you can do and change about yourself, do little tweaks and see what happens, see if people start to respond to you a little different, see if you start to, have more opportunities pop up, and it's exciting. It's an exciting life. Yeah, so I think that we really do have to get out of our egos. And I can talk about this in so many different ways, but because, I was thinking upon earlier that of my spiritual awakening, and I really want to tell people what I come to learn. Like, I really do believe that I come to understand what and who the one true God is of this world. And God is real and God is alive. Okay. And I just say God because I came from a Christian upbringing, but it's Allah, it's the universe, it's source creator, it's, even for the atheists, it's nothing. All of that. There's one true God of all of that. Yes, I found the God of every religion, and even including the non-religious atheists and scientists. It's wonderful. But before I reveal it, let me tell you more about, I'm not going to reveal it in this video. You have to come back for that. Let me tell you more about the ego. And I'll give you a hint of the one true God. And I'm going to do it by speaking about the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz was my favorite movie growing up. And then when I got a little older, I went and saw The Wiz. And throughout my spiritual awakening, I watched The Wiz again. And that's my favorite movie. It is so spiritual to me. Anyway, but, the theme of The Wizard of Oz, right? There's Dorothy, there's the Tin Man, there's the Scarecrow, and that's it. And the lion. Now, the Scarecrow represents what? The brain. The Tin Man, he represents what? The heart. And then the Cowardly Lion, he represents the spirit, really. The spirit, the courage, You must also have strength to have courage. So that's, even the body, because you got to have a strong body to have courage. And then the courage, you have to know that, hey, I could do this. You have belief in yourself. You can do it. So that's the spirit. Okay, and Dorothy really represents perhaps the body, because everything is within Dorothy. And in the end, she found out that home was within her. Well, in The Wizard of Oz, it was a man behind a mask, right? A mask with all the smoke and mirrors and everything. And then come to find out, it was a man. It wasn't even a wizard. But in The Wizard of Oz, if you really look at that movie in a spiritual way, they treat the wizard in a way of a god. Like, God the Father even. Allah even. Like, Father God. But there was a mask. And the mask came off. And it was only a man. Could the one true God be a man? No. The one true God is not a man. However, because of our egos and us, our personal identity of ourselves, who we think we are and who we want others to believe who we are. You know, there are people who want other people and who think they believe themselves to be Christians, and they want other people to believe them to be Christians, Muslims, Jews, Jewish people, pardon me, uh, you know, the Buddhists, everybody. They're putting labels on themselves. They're putting, that's in a, you know, you already got your name. Now you're going to put this, and then, you know, if they work, you know, and I'm a doctor, that's another label. These are egos that they're putting on themselves. It's hard to find God in your ego, that's for sure. And you got to be in alignment with God in order to have this life of abundance, well-being, and prosperity. So the less ego, the better. The no ego, or the ego matured into the ally, the absolute best. So, okay, the mask came off, there was a man. Well, you know what? The one true God, the mask is going to come off, and there's not going to be no man. There's not going to be anything. There's going to be nothing. Nothing. Would you be able to handle that? Do you think your ego would be able to handle that? It depends. Depends on how much you worship an image of God in your head. And remember, in the Bible and in the Quran, I believe it says it in there too, is there's something, you can't be worshiping no false idols, no false images, no false prophets, you know. And I believe in the Bible it said that God had no face. Nobody can see God's face. Or pardon me, it didn't say God didn't have any face, I don't think. But it said that you can't see the face of God. And I think there's maybe two reasons why. And one reason is because there is no face. How can there not be no face and still be God the Father? Well, you may have to tune into another video to find out. But it's something that I want you to think about, because that really can happen. God, let me just tell you this, okay? In my spiritual awakening, what triggered it was I had a dream of my grandfather, and he was in a white room, and he was in a corner, and he was far away, and he kept saying to me, Jesus is the light. Jesus is the light. It was nice, it was soft when it started, and I was like, wow, okay, Grandpa, because I heard him say that when he was alive. I was like, so what are you here to tell me that, you know, there's life after death? Is this what this dream is about? Jesus is the light, Kayla. Jesus is the light. Okay? Jesus is the light, Kayla. Jesus is the light. And it kept getting bigger and bigger and louder and louder. The room was getting brighter and brighter, and I was covering my head. And I said, okay, Grandpa, Jesus is the light. Jesus is the light. I was like, oh my God. I was like, was he telling me to go to church? Because that was the first question he'd always ask me every time when he saw me. First it was, praise the Lord, my granddaughter's here. The next question was, have you found a church, granddaughter? Have you found a church? And my answer would always be no. And you know what? Now I understand it was because of my ego. But I thought it was because of church folks. But it was my ego. At any rate, and I had church in me all the time. I was a trip. I'd be out drinking, talking about Jesus. I'd be like saving sinners while I'm sinning with them. Anyway, that's another video. But yeah, Jesus is the light. And then I said to myself, no, he wasn't telling me to go to church. And then I had this other thought, which was, I taught my Jesus to my generation in the way that they could understand. Now it's your turn to teach Jesus to your generation in a way that they could understand. I was like, what? He didn't say all that. He just said Jesus is the light. But, I mean, that set off a firestorm within me and my world around me and everything I was seeing and people I was talking to, everything, movies I was watching, YouTube's, books, everything. came into an understanding. And I'll give you a hint of what this understanding is. If Jesus is the light and E equals MC squared, there is only one thing God could be. You know what that is? Tune in next. No, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to say that. What it must be is power. Real power. I'm talking electromagnetic energy. And all of its forms. I mean, what we see, what we know of it, it's just probably just tiny compared to the real power of it. Because there's only one vibrational energy. It's a living one vibrational energy. Love. That means power is alive. And once science confirms that power is alive, and it could be the only thing truly that is alive on this earth, universe, and more, we're going to have to bow down to that. That's the most powerful force in the universe. Anyway, I'll get into that at a later time. I think the next video will be about the ally, because it really talks about power and, you know, living in alignment with the living one vibrational energy, where you're allowing that living one vibrational energy into you and your world, your mind, your heart, your environment, your friends, your family, everywhere. If all of us did it, what a beautiful world. What a beautiful world. Yeah, maybe that's why Jesus left that as the greatest commandment, to love your God, your Lord, your God, with all your mind, heart, soul. Remember the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the soul. That must be the strength, the courage, the spirit. You love that. Love, you be in alignment. You're living one vibrational energy with it. Because there's one vibrational energy that is within all of us. I have a one vibrational energy living in me because it comes in through the breath. So first I have to align. I have to live one vibrational energy within my mind, my heart, my courage, my soul, my spirit. And then I align that with the living one vibrational energy that grows and prospers all of life and expands. That is what I believe Jesus was talking about, it being the greatest commandment. And then Jesus went on to say to love your enemies, or love, he also said love your enemies, but he did say to love your neighbors so you love yourself. So what is that implying? That's implying you got to know how to love yourself. You got to know how to love yourself. You have to know how to love yourself in order to love your neighbor like yourself, right? Self-love. Self-love synergy. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my little video tonight. I wonder if I'll even put it up there. I hope I do. And I hope that you still, come back for more. And you still like my, you like my energies and you like my conversation. Because I'm having a really good time conversating with you. So, as usual, you have a good night. And I'm going to have one too.